Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to dive into the scapegoat. The scapegoat is going to have an existential crisis. I'm going to tell you about this, when it happens, what to do about it. Maybe you don't even know this is what happens. Watch this video. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, please click the subscribe button and the bell to receive notifications when I release new videos. And if you've been with us for a while, thank you so much and welcome back. This one's for the scapegoat. You might not even know you're a scapegoat, but if you're watching this video, you have some sense that something was very off. The truth teller is the scapegoat child. The scapegoat child is the one that sees through the denial that the family will not admit. The scapegoat gets very infuriated and frustrated when her truth and her will is beaten down and taken from her over and over and over again. The scapegoat is the one that fights for their truth and has to make a decision early on. Do I fight for my truth and maybe feel unsafe and abandoned by my family that I need to survive? Or do I let go of my truth by abandoning self so I can survive the system that I belong to until I can break out of this? What a lot of you guys go through, and you tell me on a weekly basis, is that you have what I would call an existential crisis, usually in adolescence or young adulthood. I myself had one too. And what that looks like is two things. The first part of your existential crisis is that all of a sudden you start going off into the world, into your social groups, into, career paths or what have you, and you start to be reflected in the world a lot more positively than you were in your own family system. This brings up denial of that because you don't want to admit how abusive it may have been. It also brings up grief about grieving for the family you didn't get, that didn't allow you to have your truth. It then makes you very self-doubting and confused about, am I right about being good, or is something bad going to happen? And this is what happens. When bad things happen, things happen in our social encounters. We go right back into that scapegoat role, and we are so afraid that we'll be stuck there. We're so afraid that that's our truth. So either we fall into depression, or we become perfectionists and people pleasers, and we do all that we can to prove against it. What happens a lot with scapegoats when we're in this existential crisis is we think that God is doing something to us. God would be there to support me if I was just figuring out who I am, and then I got rejected again, and then I feel like shit again. Why wouldn't God support my new way of being, my true understanding of self? If it was really true, it would be supported. What we don't realize until much later, God isn't the one that made people scapegoat you. God, universe, is a reflection of your own inner experience. So if someone's rejecting you and you're a scapegoat, you go right into your deep dive of shame. If someone rejects you and you're not a scapegoat and you have a high self-esteem, you're like, whatever, it's someone rejecting me. See what I mean? It's not a personal thing, but it feels personal because you've come from such hell. So the existential crisis for me was about then following and diving into spiritual law. I remember the first book I grabbed off the shelf when I started seeking, I think I was preteen, was the 12 Spiritual Laws of the Universe. Because I was like, where is God? What's going on? Why did I grow up the scapegoat and now I'm feeling all these amazing opportunities in my life, but anytime there's rejection or abandonment, I freak out and I go back to that old identity. What's my true identity? What's my true self? Who is my authentic reality? And all these years later, I look back and I'm grateful for the contrast because I would have never had so much drive to find the truth. And most often, scapegoats do find the truth and do heal. The scapegoat child is the one that heals because you're the one that searches for yourself. You know something's wrong. You know this system is off. You don't know how to fight it or battle it as a child because you need them to survive. But if you do this work, you won't continue creating the same scenarios with narcissistic partners and alcoholic partners and emotionally unavailable, immature, and emotionally unintelligent humans. We oftentimes continue this cycle until we heal this existential crisis of understanding, where's God at? God is not in your false idols of narcissistic partners or bosses or friends or whatever. See, as scapegoats, we were taught to go along with the domination of the narcissistic parent or the emotionally unavailable parent, emotionally immature parent. So we have this emotional imprint in us to be dominated or controlled by someone who seems in power. And if we can master that and love them, then we get to feel a sense of worthiness. And that's so fake, false, and it doesn't last. It actually becomes a cycle of withdrawal and trauma bonding and all the things, love addiction. To break out of these cycles, we literally have to keep looking. We have to understand the lingo. This is what a trauma bond is. This is what withdrawal symptoms are. This is why I'm doing this. This is what a scapegoat is. I was scapegoated. One thing you have to understand about being scapegoated is one of the biggest pains for people and blocks to their healing when they come to me is they cannot believe. They know intellectually, but they can't emotionally get on board with the fact that this happened to them and it wasn't because of them. It's not you that's such a flawed human, that's such a big problem that you were chosen as a scapegoat. You were chosen as a scapegoat because you are sensitive and you are a truth teller and you have a strong will, which means strong inner guidance. So you guys might have seen my video the other day, but I want to just ingrain this for you guys one more time. Healing back to your true authentic self is not going to get you to fit back into the original system. In fact, you should not want to fit back into the original system. The highest level of healing in this way is to not want to fit back into a system that made you strip yourself from your authenticity, which you just healed back into after many years. There was nothing wrong with you. That's not why you were scapegoated or targeted. What was wrong with you is actually very right, but it highlighted what was wrong in them. This is a system that's toxic, that can't take accountability or responsibility or any acknowledgement of their part in being wrong or emotionally immature or abusive. So you being the scapegoat, your healing is coming back to the part that got you scapegoated, which is why so many of you push it off and block yourself when you're right about to break free. And I'm telling you this because this is coming up a lot in my groups. People that have worked with me for years are just really waking up and like, wait a minute though. Now that I'm healed, I can go back into my family. I'm like, what are you talking about? The reason you had to do so much healing was not to be perfect for them and fit in, was to get back to who you were, which was the original person that was rejected by them. Take that in. Your authentic self was not flawed. Your authentic self was a seer, was sensitive, was truthful, and got you rejected because you told a truth that other people couldn't own. So me, you guys look at me, I'm a truth teller. I'm a straight shooter. No bullshit, down-to-earth healing. Why is that? Because I'm very sure that this is how I was as a child. And I know for a fact that being this way as a child is very hard for people who are in denial, who've not healed their own wounds, to handle, because you're basically a pure mirror in their face all day long. Mommy, I don't like that when you say that to me. I didn't say anything wrong. Yes, you did, Mom. No, I didn't. Oh, did I perceive that wrong? You know what I'm saying? I know I don't perceive things wrong. Because when you do enough work, get brutally honest with yourself. Do all the shadow work, the dark shadow and especially the golden shadow that makes you shine, that brings you back to the truth of who you are and what purpose you are supposed to be here to do. You don't have any doubt because you're in the all-knowing of self, and then you can be in the all-knowing of other. You can't see anyone clearly until you can see yourself clearly. When you see yourself clearly, you see everyone clear. Guys, I wasn't going to do this, but I feel very called to do this. After my emotional rehab live calls the last month, I realized I really do want to do shadow work live this year. Shadow work, yes, many of you have dabbled in it, but many of you haven't gotten to the other side. In my shadow work course, which I will be doing live for June, it's open for enrollment right now. I'm going to be doing it live for 3 months with you guys because if you can be mirrored by someone who's in clarity, you come to clarity. And what I realized by doing my live calls is they're kind of monumental. Because yes, you can do this work on your own, but you shouldn't. You actually shouldn't. Because when you can be with someone who's done the work and holds a space for you to be your best version of self, because I can see your best version of self, you become your best version of self quickly because there's less fog, There's less blind spots. That's what everybody tells me. You see my blind spots. And there's more clarity and fearlessness to see and own the truth for you. So I welcome you guys to join my shadow work course live. I'm excited. I can't believe I'm actually offering this. My assistant was like, don't do it. You're so busy. I'm like, I got to do it. So I'm doing this for both of us because I get so much out of watching you guys break free. It's just the most exciting thing for me. So Shadow Work Live is open. Please send me any comments below or questions that you may have about anything on this topic. If you're the scapegoat, I got you. I was you. I love you. Please check out my social media, and I will see you guys very soon.